Welcome to Zen Dharma Sleep, a space where you return to your inner stillness, where each breath is a gentle lullaby and every story is a bridge leading you back to yourself. Have you ever found yourself lying in bed, eyes closed, yet your mind clings to a memory, a word, a person's face? It loops, it stirs, it refuses to leave. Maybe it's an argument you replay again and again, wishing you'd said something different. Or maybe it's that lingering fear that something might go wrong even though the room is quiet and the night is still. Why can't your mind just let go? Why do some thoughts stick to you like thorns long after the moment has passed? You are not alone in this. The Buddha spoke of this over 2,000 years ago. He described it as upadana grasping. The mind holds on. It resists what it doesn't like and clings tightly to what it fears to lose. This is the root of suffering, not the thing itself, but the grasping. And so your pain is not from the memory, but from how much you want it to change or stay. The first step is to see this clearly. Not with blame, not with judgment, but gently, like holding a bird in your hand. You begin to notice, the mind is grasping again. It wants to fix something that can't be fixed in thought. It wants to reverse time. It wants control. But the truth is, thoughts are not reality. They are shadows cast by a lantern behind your eyes. They are echoes of something already gone. Can you hear the echo without needing to chase the sound? You might ask, but how do I stop it? You don't. Stopping is another form of grasping. Instead, you observe. You watch. You become the silent witness who watches the restless sea but does not dive into the waves. You allow the thought to arise to peak, and like every wave, it will fall. If you don't cling, it cannot stay. There's a simple way to practice. When a painful thought appears, name it softly in your mind. Thinking, that's all. Don't describe it. Don't analyze it, just notice. Thinking-y. Then breathe, gently, in and out. Feel the breath enter your nostrils like cool morning air. Feel it leave warm and soft. With each breath, let the thought float away like a leaf carried on a stream. Sometimes you will forget. That's okay. The mind will wander. It will tell stories. It will return to the old wound. You will find yourself deep in it again. And when you do, smile inwardly. You have not failed. You have remembered. Return to the breath. Return to this moment. Again and again. Buddhism never asks you to suppress. It only invites you to see. Suffering begins the moment you believe the story in your head is more real than the breath in your body. The story might say, you were wronged. It might say, you are not enough. It might whisper, you'll never be okay. But none of that is now. The now is your breath, your body, resting your presence here. Emotional freedom begins not with changing the world, but with releasing your grip on the world. You begin to unhook. One thought at a time, one memory at a time. You stop needing the past to be different. You stop needing the future to be safe. You begin to trust this breath, this moment, this stillness, and slowly, like a knot untying itself, your mind softens. Imagine this, a hand grasping a stone. You've been holding it for hours, maybe years. Your fingers are cramped. Your palm is sore. But the moment you release the pain, begins to ease. The stone was never the enemy. The grasping was. And so it is with your thoughts. They are not poison unless you drink from them again and again. Tonight, I invite you to release, to loosen your grip, to stop trying to understand everything. Let that person's voice fade. Let that unfinished conversation dissolve. Let the mind whisper if it must. But you return to the breath. Trust it. It is your bridge to stillness. It is your anchor in the present. It is the beginning of freedom. You might feel fear arise. If I stop thinking about it, will I forget? Will I lose something important? But you will not forget. You will remember with peace, not pain. You will see clearly, not cling blindly. What is real cannot be lost. What hurts is already gone. What matters will stay, even when you are still. And so as your body softens into sleep, know this: you don't need to carry the weight of your past into your dreams. You don't need to solve every puzzle before resting. You only need to release, just a little. And trust that everything you need is already here. You are safe now. You are whole now. Let go. There is a voice that speaks inside your head, a voice that rarely rests, a voice that comments on everything: your past, your plans, your fears, your hopes. It narrates your life as if it were a story it must constantly explain, and you listen. You listen not just with your ears, but with your whole being. You believe it. You follow it. You argue with it. Sometimes it sounds like your own thoughts. Sometimes it sounds like a parent, a critic, a doubter. But always it keeps going. It never stops, even in sleep. It dreams. And yet, you are not this voice. You are the one who hears it. You are the awareness that notices it. When the Buddha spoke of mindfulness, he pointed to this subtle distinction, not to shut the voice off, but to notice it as a passing sound, not a command. The voice in your head may say, "I can't take this anymore," or "I need to fix everything right now," or "They don't understand me." And without awareness, you fall into its trap. You become the panic, the urgency, the sadness. But with mindfulness, you become the listener, not the speaker. And that is your freedom. You see, the mind is a storyteller. It tries to make sense of everything. It wants reasons. It craves logic patterns, endings. But life is not a novel. Life is a river. It flows without explanation. It changes without permission. Trying to make every part of your story neat and resolved only ties you up in more knots. The voice in your head may think it's helping, but often it's only tightening the rope. To be free, you don't have to silence the voice. You only need to see it for what it is: noise. Useful sometimes, harmful other times, but always just noise. When you meditate, you begin to notice that the voice never runs out of things to say. And yet, when you don't react, when you simply sit and breathe and watch the voice grow softer, its urgency fades, its power weakens. You are no longer pulled along by it like a leaf in the wind. You are the sky watching the wind blow. Try this the next time the voice says something sharp or fearful or fast. Don't answer it. Don't argue. Just breathe. Feel your chest rise, your belly expand, your shoulders fall. Say to yourself, thinking, and then return. No drama, no punishment, just return. Eventually, something shifts. The voice may still chatter, but you stop believing every word. You start to hear the space between the words. That space, that silence, is your true home. That space is where peace lives, not in control, not in fixing, but in presence. Sometimes, the voice will disguise itself as truth. I am not enough. I can't change. I always mess things up. These thoughts feel like facts, but they are only shadows. They are stories the mind repeats, worn-out patterns left behind by old wounds. Buddhism teaches that these patterns are not who you are. They are karma, habitual energy. When you see them clearly, they begin to dissolve. You begin to rewire your path. There is an old Zen saying, "Let thoughts come and go, but don't serve them tea. Let them pass. Let them rise like steam and vanish like mist. When you welcome them but don't entertain them, you remain free. You sit still in your being while the stories come and go." This is not about detachment in the cold sense. It is not about pushing the voice away or pretending it isn't there. It is about softness. It is about friendliness. You become like a calm parent to your own mind, gently saying, "I hear you, but I don't need to follow you." And in this space, something miraculous begins to happen. The body relaxes. The breath deepens. Emotions soften. Because the body listens to the mind, and when the mind becomes quiet, the whole system heals. You begin to rest, not just physically, but emotionally. You stop running inside. You stop rehearsing pain. You begin to arrive here where life actually is. And perhaps for the first time, you taste the quiet behind all the noise. Not a cold silence, but a living one. A warm, infinite space where nothing needs to be solved and everything is allowed. This is the beginning of true stillness, not the stillness of frozen control, but the stillness of deep acceptance. You are no longer trying to stop the rain. You are listening to it fall. So tonight, as thoughts arise in your mind, do not resist them. Do not feed them. Let them speak, if they must, and then let them drift away, like petals on water. Let your breath be your companion. Let your body be your anchor. Let your heart be soft. You don't need to solve anything right now. You don't need to be anyone else. You only need to be. And in that being, the voice loses its grip. The storm calms. The water clears. And you return not to a place, but to yourself. You try to make things go the way you planned. You build, you organize, you chase the perfect timing, the ideal words, the flawless ending. And yet things fall apart. People change their minds. Plans collapse. Expectations go unmet. Life has its own rhythm, and it rarely bows to your control. Deep down, you may already know this, but still, you tighten your grip. You say, Just one more adjustment, one more effort, and maybe it'll all go the way I want. But it doesn't, and you suffer. The Buddha saw this deeply. He taught that suffering comes not from the world itself, but from your insistence that the world be different than it is. You suffer not because people leave, but because you expected them to stay. You suffer not because things changed, but because you hoped they wouldn't. This grasping for control is like trying to hold water in a clenched fist. The tighter you hold, the more slips through. And the more you try to fix and push and chase, the more exhausted you become. Emotional freedom then does not come from perfect order. It comes from releasing the belief that you must always manage the flow of life. When you let go of needing control, you make room for peace. But surrender is not defeat. It is not apathy. It is clarity. When you stop trying to force outcomes, you see more clearly what is here. You can respond instead of react. You become fluid, like water, not rigid like glass. When the wind changes direction, you adjust your sail instead of cursing the sky. Surrender is not giving up. It is giving in to this moment, this reality, this breath. When you accept that you are not the master of every wave, you begin to ride with them, not against them. There is immense power in this, a deep strength and softness. Stillness grows when you no longer try to bend life to your will. Let yourself remember this when fear rises. Fear is the mind's alarm that says I'm losing control. But what are you really losing? A picture in your head. A timeline you invented. Control is often an illusion, and fear feeds on that illusion. What happens when you stop believing that fear means danger? What if it's just a signal that something is unknown and that's okay? You don't have to solve it right now. You don't have to fight it. You can breathe into it. Let it pass like wind through a tree. The tree does not resist. It sways, and then it stills. You are that tree. Try this, close your eyes, and think of one thing you've been trying to control. A situation, a person, an outcome. Feel the tension in your body as you think of it. Maybe your shoulders tighten, your jaw locks, your breath shortens. Now slowly, invite a soft whisper in your mind. I don't need to control this. Let the breath flow. Let the body soften. Don't force yourself to feel peace, just allow the possibility. You may feel sadness arise, or anger. That's all right. Let it come, let it move, and then let it go. Control is heavy. It makes your heart hard. It keeps you awake at night. But surrender is light. It brings softness to the edges of your life. It allows space. The paradox is that the more you surrender, the more influence you have, not through force, but through presence. You become the calm in the room, the eye in the storm. Your energy shifts and others feel it. You stop trying to fix people and they begin to open. You stop demanding answers and insights arrive. You stop chasing and things begin to come to you. This is not magic. It is alignment. When you release resistance, you return to the flow of life, and life supports those who flow. Even when grief comes, you hold it gently. Even when loss appears, you bow to it without collapse. Even when the unknown knocks at your door, you open it with steady breath. You are no longer at war with what is. You are in harmony. Let tonight be a practice. As you rest, you may notice thoughts trying to wrestle with control again. What if tomorrow goes wrong? What if I don't get what I need? Smile inwardly. Breathe. Whisper, I let go. Not once, but again and again, like a mantra. Not with force, but with trust. Let it echo quietly in your heart. Each breath is a surrender. Each exhale is a soft release. You are not weak for letting go. You are wise. You are not escaping. You are arriving. And in this surrender, a deeper you awakens, calm, rooted, free. You carry so much without realizing it. The weight is not always visible, not always physical, but it's there, resting in your chest, in your stomach, in the corners of your mind. It shows up in the tightness of your breath, in the sudden anger that feels bigger than the moment, in the restless nights when your thoughts refuse to be quiet. And often, that weight is made not of the things themselves, but of your holding. You hold on to what was said, to what wasn't said, to what might happen, to what could have been. You replay old moments like a worn-out tape, hoping maybe this time they'll end differently. But they never do, because they're no longer real. You carry these fragments of the past like stones in your pockets, and with each step forward, they grow heavier. Still, you resist letting them go. You've grown used to their shape. You think they keep you safe or remind you of something important. But the truth is, they weigh you down more than they protect you. The Buddha often compared this to a traveler carrying a heavy load long after its purpose is gone. You believe that holding on gives you meaning or control, but it doesn't. It only creates suffering. And the moment you become aware of the holding, you are free to loosen your grip. Letting go doesn't mean erasing. It doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing the tension in your heart. It means choosing to walk lighter. You don't drop the memory. You drop the story that binds it. The story that says, I should have known better, or they should have loved me, or it should have been different. These are not facts. They are interpretations woven from hurt and fear and longing. And you can stop repeating them. Emotional pain is not a punishment. It's a signal. It tells you where you're holding too tightly, where you've confused past pain for present truth. The longer you carry something that no longer fits the shape of your life, the more it distorts your view of the world. You begin to expect disappointment, anticipate betrayal, wait for the next wound before it arrives. But the future hasn't hurt you yet. Only the past has. And you have the power now in this moment to release the past and return to what is real. This breath, this body, this stillness. Try noticing how the body holds on. Where do you feel tight? Where is there pressure? A clench, a dull ache. Place your attention there, not to fix it, not to judge it, just to see. The body remembers everything the mind tries to bury. When you let yourself feel what's stuck, the body begins to release it, slowly, naturally, like snow melting in the sun. No force is needed, only awareness only breath. With each gentle inhale, say silently, "I allow." With each exhale, whisper inside, "I release." Let the rhythm carry you. Let your body do what it already knows how to do. You don't need to know how to let go. You only need to stop holding. The rest happens on its own. It is not an effort. It is an uneffort. Like unclenching a fist, like loosening a knot. When you stop fighting, what is something inside you opens. You don't lose anything essential, you gain lightness. You remember what it feels like to move through life without dragging the weight of yesterday. Sometimes the pain feels too big to let go of all at once. That's okay. You don't have to drop everything in one breath. You can release piece by piece. You can begin with one story, one face, one expectation. You can practice softening your grip, even if the memory still lingers, even if the feelings still echo. The key is not to resist the memory, but to stop fueling the pain. Stop rehearsing the hurt. Stop reinforcing the belief that it defines you. You are not your pain. You are not your story. You are the awareness behind it all. The stillness beneath it. The sky wide enough to hold every passing cloud. Tonight, let yourself imagine setting down your burdens, one by one. You don't need to solve them. You don't need to understand them. You only need to give yourself permission to rest. Trust that whatever needs healing will rise to the surface in its own time. Trust that you are already enough, even in your unfinishedness. Let go of the need to be anything other than what you are right now. Whole, breathing, present, free. Everything changes. This truth is simple yet difficult to accept. You see it all around you. Seasons, shifting bodies, aging friendships, drifting emotions, rising and falling like waves. But still, you resist. Still, you hope some things will stay just as they are. You hold on to moments, people, feelings, wishing they could be preserved, protected from the slow erosion of time. But impermanence is the nature of all things. Even the most beautiful sunrise fades into daylight. Even the most intense sorrow eventually softens. This is not tragedy, it is liberation. Because when you see clearly that nothing lasts forever, you also realize that nothing can trap you forever. No feeling is final. No pain is eternal. You begin to trust that every storm passes, and that every moment is just that, a moment, not a life sentence. The Buddha taught that clinging to the impermanent is the root of suffering. You suffer not because joy ends, but because you expected it to stay. You suffer not because someone left, but because you believed they should always be there. But everything that comes must go. Every form returns to emptiness. This is not something to fear. It is something to bow to. Because it means that life is fluid, not frozen. It moves, and so do you. You are not stuck. You are not broken. You are simply flowing, changing, unfolding with the rest of the universe. And in that change, you find freedom. The lotus blooms not despite impermanence, but because of it. To practice this truth, begin by noticing the small shifts. Notice how a sensation in your body changes from one breath to the next. How an emotion that felt overwhelming an hour ago now feels softer, more distant. Notice how thoughts arise and pass like clouds in the wind. None of them stay. They visit, they speak, they move on. You are the witness, not the content. You are the sky, not the cloud. And when you begin to live from this place of witnessing, you stop panicking when things change. You stop clutching. You start flowing. Impermanence does not mean detachment from life. It means deeper appreciation. When you know something is temporary, you savor it. You become more present. You listen more closely. You love more freely. You don't rush through the moment, you rest in it. You know it will not come again in the same form, so you meet it fully. The taste of your tea, the sound of the wind, the voice of someone dear, all of it becomes sacred because you no longer assume it will last. You stop taking life for granted, and in doing so, you begin to live. There may still be grief. There may still be longing. That's part of being human. But even grief changes, even longing transforms. And when you stop resisting their movement, they carry you somewhere new. They become currents that move your heart into deeper waters where peace lives. You stop fearing change because you begin to see what it brings. Not just endings, but beginnings. Not just loss, but space for something else to grow. The tree does not mourn every leaf that falls. It trusts the cycle, and so can you. Try gently repeating this phrase to yourself. This too will pass. Say it not as a dismissal, but as a truth. Say it when you are hurting. Say it when you are joyful. Say it when you are afraid. Let it remind you that everything is in motion and that your only task is to stay soft and open in the middle of that movement. When pain comes, welcome it. When it goes, let it go. When beauty appears, soak it in. When it fades, smile. You are here to experience, not to possess. You are here to witness, not to control. And in this surrender, in this gentle allowing, you find a stillness that is not separate from change, but deep within it. Tonight, as you rest, remember this truth. Whatever you are holding on to, whether it's a regret, a hope, a memory, know that it is already in motion. You don't need to force it to stay or push it away. Just watch. Just breathe. Let it move through you. Let the rhythm of your breath remind you that even your body is always changing. Inhale. Exhale, rising, falling, coming, going. Life breathes you. Trust that. Trust the movement. Trust the impermanence. And rest in the knowing that you are not the storm, you are the space the storm passes through. There is a space inside you that does not react, that does not rush, that does not judge or fear. It watches. It listens. It remains unmoved even when the surface of your life trembles. This space is your knowing nature, your true self, beyond the roles you play, beyond the emotions that rise and fall, beyond the stories the mind tells. Most people live without ever fully meeting this part of themselves. They mistake thoughts for identity, moods for reality. They get caught in the waves, pulled under by fear or anger or longing. But you are not the waves. You are the ocean underneath, the calm, vast depth that sees everything pass without losing itself. Buddhism teaches that you can find freedom not by escaping experience, but by sitting within it as the calm witness. This is not detachment in the cold sense. It is awareness so steady that it does not collapse into reaction. You begin this practice not by suppressing your feelings, but by noticing them with gentle attention. When anger appears, you say silently, "Anger is here." When sadness arises, sadness is here. You do not say, "I am sad," or "I am angry." You are not the emotion, you are the one seeing it. This small shift in language creates a vast space in your mind. It reminds you that feelings are visitors, not residents. They come and go like clouds across a clear sky. The sky does not change because of the clouds. It remains untouched, open still. You are that sky. The clouds will pass. When you train in this kind of witnessing, something remarkable happens. Your emotions lose their power to throw you off balance. You stop being afraid of them. You stop needing them to be different. And paradoxically, they begin to shift more easily. Anger softens when it's met with non-resistance. Fear calms when it's allowed to exist without judgment. You create a sanctuary inside you, a place where even the hardest feelings can be held without harm. This is emotional maturity, not the absence of feeling, but the presence of steady awareness. Imagine you are sitting at the edge of a river. Thoughts, memories, sensations, they all float by, like leaves on the water. You don't have to grab them. You don't have to chase them. You just sit and watch. Some float gently, others rush. Some stir the water, others glide silently. But you stay. You breathe. You remain the witness. This river never stops, but you no longer drown in it. You are rooted on the bank. You have found your seat in stillness. The more you rest in this awareness, the less you get pulled into drama, into storylines that hurt you. You don't need to explain everything to yourself. You don't need to win every argument in your mind. You begin to understand that silence is not emptiness. It is power. It is where real understanding begins. The still mind sees clearly. The reactive mind only repeats patterns. When you pause before responding, when you breathe instead of lashing out, you are choosing wisdom over habit. You are stepping into the deeper you, the one who doesn't need to prove anything. That is where peace lives, not in control, but in clarity. This witnessing self cannot be hurt. Emotions may arise, pain may visit, but the witness remains untouched. It sees everything, but it is not the thing it sees. This is the heart of Buddhist insight. The self you defend so fiercely is a thought, a bundle of memories, desires, fears. But beneath that constructed self is your original nature, clear, calm, aware. When you return to this nature, you don't disappear, you awaken. You don't become cold. You become compassionate because you're no longer trapped in your own suffering. You can finally see others clearly. You can finally offer presence instead of reaction, love instead of fear. Tonight, allow yourself to rest in this witnessing presence. Whatever arises in your body or mind, notice it without clinging. If a thought comes, let it come. If a memory stirs emotion, let it stir. but keep part of your awareness grounded in the breath, in the stillness. You are not the content of your mind. You are the space that holds it all. You are the silence between the sounds. You are the watcher, always here, always home. There is a belief you've held perhaps without knowing that you must be someone. Someone. Solid, consistent, defined by a set of ideas, memories, labels. You say, "This is just who I am," and you build your identity around that sentence. You hold on tightly to your name, your roles, your history, your pain, and the stories you tell about yourself. But who are you without those things? Who are you when you stop repeating the old narratives in your mind? Buddhism teaches that the self you think you are, the one that suffers, that reacts, that fears, is not a fixed or permanent self at all. This is the wisdom of anatta, or non-self. It is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to set you free. Because when there is no solid self, there is no one to defend, no image to uphold, no mask to maintain. You begin to realize that your suffering comes from clinging to an identity that was never truly yours to begin with. You are not your anger. You are not your guilt. You are not your past. These are passing mental formations, like clouds forming and dissolving in the open sky of awareness. They are real in experience, but not permanent in essence. When you deeply understand, this something inside you softens. You no longer feel the need to explain or justify who you are. You no longer argue with life to maintain a sense of control. Instead, you become curious. If you are not the sum of your memories, then what are you? If you are not the voice in your head, then what remains when that voice goes quiet? What remains is presence, pure, luminous aware. It watches the world, responds with wisdom, and rests in peace. You don't have to invent this presence. It has always been here, beneath the layers of story, beneath the personality, beneath the emotional weather. All spiritual practice is a remembering, not a building. You are peeling away illusion, not adding new truths. When pain comes and says, "This is who you are," you now have space to respond gently. "No, this is only what is passing through me." When shame arises and says, "You always do this," you return to the breath and say, "This is just a thought. It does not define me." When fear whispers that you are not enough, you stay still, feel it, and watch it fade. You don't fight it. You don't feed it. You witness it. And by doing so, you reclaim your freedom from it. You stop becoming the emotion and instead become the space that holds it. This is not about erasing your humanity. It's about remembering that your true nature is not limited by the temporary experiences of the mind. You will still feel joy, grief, desire, doubt, but you will no longer mistake those movements for your core. You will stop clinging to the highs and resisting the lows. You will move through life like the wind moves through trees, sometimes still, sometimes strong, always flowing. You are not the tree that breaks. You are the wind that continues. In everyday life, begin to notice how often you say, "I am," followed by something painful. "I am angry. I am hopeless. I am broken." Catch yourself. These are not facts. They are identifications. Try instead. There is anger. There is sadness. There is fear. This shift changes everything. It returns you to your center. It reminds you that you are the observer, not the object. The self that suffers is a mental habit. The self that watches is freedom. As you lie here now resting, let your identity dissolve like sand slipping through fingers. You do not need to hold yourself together. You are not a problem to be solved. You are not a role to be performed. You are a field of awareness, a presence wide enough to hold everything and need nothing in return. The body breathes, the heart beats, thoughts come and go, but you, the witness, remain untouched, silent, free, here. You've been taught to resist. From childhood, you were praised for pushing through, fighting back, never giving in. And somewhere along the way, you began to believe that every difficult emotion, every wave of discomfort, every moment of uncertainty was something to overcome, to conquer, to silence. But the more you resist your experience, the more entangled you become in it. Fear becomes stronger when you try to suppress it. Sadness deepens when you pretend it's not there. Anger grows when you judge yourself for feeling it. Resistance is a form of clinging in disguise, a desperate attempt to control what arises inside you. But Buddhism teaches a different way, a softer way. It says, let it come, let it pass, like a river flowing through your body. Emotion does not need to be fought. It needs to be felt. Not to the point of drowning, but with the trust that you are the river, not the current. That you can allow everything to move through you without becoming it. Imagine the way a stream navigates its path. It doesn't try to move the rocks. It flows around them. It doesn't curse the steep drop. It cascades downward in surrender. It doesn't ask the forest to change. It simply continues. This is how you reclaim emotional freedom, not by removing every obstacle, but by shifting how you move through what is present. When fear tightens your chest, breathe softer. When sadness lingers behind your eyes, let it be a gentle ache, not a battle. When frustration rises, feel its heat without needing to act on it. The feeling will change. It always does. But when you resist, you trap it, you feed it, you keep it alive, and then it grows heavier than it ever needed to be. The river knows that movement is healing, and so does your body. When you let emotions move through you, through breath, through stillness, through patient presence, they release themselves. Nothing is permanent. No feeling stays if you don't hold it. That's the secret. The more you allow, the faster it moves. The more you resist, the deeper it roots. So, let yourself soften. Right now, you don't have to be strong in the old way. You don't have to win against yourself. You can be the one who bows to what arises, who says yes to the full experience of being alive, who allows even pain to pass like weather. This kind of surrender is not passive, it's powerful. It takes courage to stop running. It takes strength to stay with what hurts. But once you do, you find that the fear was not as big as you thought. The sadness was not endless. The storm was not your enemy. It was your teacher. Every emotion comes to deliver a message, then it leaves. Your job is not to interpret every message perfectly. Your job is simply to receive it and let it go. Just as the breath comes and goes, so do your inner states. No single breath defines you. No single emotion is who you are. You are the one who watches it all. Tonight, let this be your practice. Let the breath be the river. Let your body be the earth. Let your thoughts be the wind and your emotions be rain passing through a field. You don't need to stop them. You only need to remain. Watch, breathe, trust. There is no storm too strong for the river. There is no feeling too sharp for stillness. You are safe to feel. You are free to flow. You are allowed to just be without fixing anything. Somewhere along the way, you began to believe that you were broken. Maybe it came from words spoken carelessly when you were young. Maybe it came from mistakes you couldn't forgive yourself for. Maybe it came from the way others treated you, from the silence of those who should have stood by your side. Whatever the source, the belief settled deep within that you are not enough, that there is something fundamentally wrong with you, that you must strive endlessly to become worthy. But this is not your truth. It is a lie born of misunderstanding. Buddhism does not see you as flawed. It sees you as whole, not because you are perfect, but because you are aware. Because even when pain arises, even when you stumble, there is something within you that knows, that sees, that never stops breathing. That part of you is unbroken, untouched, unshaken by the passing dramas of your life. The idea that you are damaged is a story the mind repeats, but the deeper you, the silent witness. The gentle breath, the calm space behind the noise has never been harmed. When you suffer, you think something must be wrong with you. But suffering is not a personal failure. It is part of the human condition, the shared weight we all carry. The Buddha's first teaching was not how to be perfect, but how to understand suffering, and from that understanding, to find peace. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are not falling apart. You are unfolding. You are meeting the parts of yourself that have long been hidden, the places that have waited to be seen not with judgment, but with compassion. Healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before you believed you were broken. The cracks you carry are not evidence of failure. They are where the light enters. They are how you grow. The pain you felt has softened you in places that were once hard. The mistakes you've made have humbled your heart. The grief you've held has deepened your ability to love. Nothing was wasted. Not one experience, not one emotion. Everything has brought you here to this moment of quiet knowing, to this breath that asks for nothing but presence. You do not need to fix yourself before you can rest. You do not need to earn your place in the world. You already belong. You are already enough. Imagine now that every part of you that you've tried to hide, the fear, the guilt, the anger, is not a flaw, but a child standing in the dark, waiting for your attention. Not your punishment, not your silence, but your presence. What happens when you turn toward that part of you and say, "You're allowed to be here"? What happens when you stop fighting your own reflection and begin to hold it with kindness? You stop being at war with yourself. You begin to come home. This is what it means to be whole, not to be unchanging, but to be welcoming. To create space inside yourself for every feeling, every thought, every part of your story, without needing to exile any of it. You stop chasing perfection and start offering yourself presence. You stop measuring yourself against imaginary standards and begin to breathe into the body. You have the life you're living the moment that is here. And in that space, healing happens on its own. Tonight, as you lie still, feel into the places where the belief of brokenness has lived. Maybe in your chest, maybe in your stomach, maybe behind your eyes. Go there gently, not to fix, but to listen. Let your breath be soft. Let your presence be enough. Whisper inside, "There is nothing wrong with me. I am healing. I am whole." Say it not to force yourself to believe, but to begin remembering. You were never broken, only believing that you were. Now, you return. You may have heard that letting go means not caring, that detachment is cold, that if you stop clinging, you lose love. But that's not what Buddhist non-attachment teaches. It's not about withdrawing from life or closing your heart. It's not about being distant or indifferent. True detachment is the opposite of apathy. It is love that is free compassion without control, presence without possession. You care, but you no longer grip. You love, but you no longer chain. You give, but you no longer demand. You begin to see that attachment is not love. It is fear wrapped in longing. It says, "I need you to stay. I need you to be this way. I can't be okay if you change." But love says, "I see you as you are. I want your happiness even if it's not with me. I am whole even as you grow." This kind of love does not cage. It flows. It allows. It breathes. When you cling to someone or something, what you're really doing is trying to protect yourself from pain. You think, if I hold tightly enough, I won't lose it. But clinging doesn't prevent loss. It only creates tension. It turns love into a transaction. It turns presence into anxiety. You spend your time watching for signs of distance, fearing abandonment, interpreting every silence as threat. And in doing so, you stop truly connecting. You stop seeing the other as they are and instead see them through the lens of your own fear. Non-attachment frees you from that lens. It allows you to be with others, not to possess them, but to experience them. To witness their unfolding without needing to manage it. To support their growth, even if it moves them away from you. That is a higher love, a love born of stillness, not of survival. This applies not only to people, but to outcomes, dreams, even ideas of who you should be. When you become attached to how things must turn out, you close yourself to the mystery of what could unfold. You grip a narrow vision and miss the wider beauty. You rush control, stress. And when things don't go your way, you collapse. But when you release your grip and trust the process, you become available to life again. You say yes to what is not just what you hoped for. You walk with openness. And in that openness, new paths reveal themselves. Joy returns. Peace arises. Your hands are free again, not clenched, but open to receive. This doesn't mean you stop setting intentions or making effort. It means you hold your intentions lightly like petals in your palm. You do your part, and then you let go. You allow the world to move. You trust that what is meant for you will come, and what is not meant for you will fade. This kind of trust is not naive. It's rooted in deep wisdom. It knows that clinging never made you safe. It only made you tired. And now, you are learning a new way to love, a way that frees you from fear. Tonight, feel into the places where you've been gripping. Maybe it's a relationship you're afraid to lose. Maybe it's a version of yourself you're trying to maintain. Maybe it's a future you're chasing so hard that you've stopped living here. Whatever it is, let it come to your mind now. Breathe into it. Notice the tension it creates, the tightness in your chest, the weight on your back, and then, with your next exhale, whisper inside, "I release you." Not because it doesn't matter, but because it matters so much. You're willing to meet it with freedom, not fear. You are not closing your heart. You are opening it to a deeper love, one that doesn't grasp, one that doesn't control, one that simply sees, accepts, supports. Let your love be like the sun shining without holding warm, without asking present, without needing. Let your care be rooted in stillness, not in struggle. And let your heart rest tonight in the truth that you can let go and still love. You can release and still care. You can walk lightly and still arrive. Thoughts come and go. They rise from nowhere, pass through your mind like wind through tall grass, then vanish without a trace. Yet, how often do you believe they are truths, facts, commands to follow? One moment you feel fine, and then a single thought appears, uninvited. Someone said something that might happen, something you regret, and suddenly your entire state shifts. The peace is gone. The heart races. The breath shortens. You are no longer resting. You are reacting. But what changed? Nothing in the world. Only a thought in the mind. Buddhism teaches that thoughts are not the problem. It is your relationship to them that creates suffering. When you believe every thought, you become entangled in them. When you observe them without attachment, you remain free. Imagine the sky, vast, blue, open. Now, imagine clouds drifting across that sky. Some are dark, others light. Some are fast, others slow. But none of them change the sky. They do not stain it. They do not break it. Your awareness is the sky. Your thoughts are the clouds. This is the heart of mindfulness, to see thoughts as passing phenomena, not personal truths. When a thought arises that brings anxiety or pain, you can notice it without merging with it. You can say silently, "This is a thought, not my thought, not the truth, just a thought." Like a leaf floating on a stream, it appears and it passes. When you become the watcher of thought, you stop being its prisoner. You learn not to resist or fight the mind's activity, but to let it pass on its own. Resistance only makes it louder. Fighting only makes it stronger. But observation dissolves its grip. The thought loses its weight when you stop giving it energy. Practice this gently. Notice when a judgment enters your mind. "I'm not doing enough. I shouldn't have said that. They must think badly of me." Don't try to push it away. Don't argue with it. Just see it. Witness it as you would a cloud, a breeze, a sound in the distance. You don't have to make it disappear. You just have to stop clinging to it. It will go. Thoughts always go if you don't hold them. You don't need to chase a better one. You don't need to replace it. Your job is to return to the breath, to the body, to the here and now where peace still lives beneath the chatter. Even helpful thoughts are just that, thoughts. They come and go. They are tools, not masters. The mind is like a radio always broadcasting. You don't need to listen to every channel. You can learn to turn the volume down. You can learn to tune in only when it helps. And when it doesn't, you come back to the silence underneath. The silence is not empty. It's full of presence. It's where your real self waits, not the thinking self, but the knowing one. Let tonight be your practice in witnessing. As thoughts arise, do not push them away. Simply greet them, see them, and let them pass. Picture the sky above you, vast and blue, and every thought that comes is just another drifting cloud. You don't chase it. You don't name it. You just watch. And the more you watch without reaction, the more space you find inside. The more space, the more calm. The more calm, the deeper you rest. You are not your thoughts. You are the sky that holds them all, and no cloud has ever harmed the sky. There are moments when emotion crashes through your body like a storm. Sudden anger, unexpected grief, a wave of anxiety that tightens your chest before you even know what triggered it. You try to push it away, to calm it down, to think your way out of it, but it only grows louder. You've been taught to brace against the wind, to armor yourself when emotion rises. But the more you resist, the more power it gains. The storm is not the enemy. It is energy moving through you. And just like the wind, it can pass through without leaving damage if only you stop trying to block its path. Buddhism teaches this wisdom through practice, not in theory. It invites you to stop fighting emotion and instead allow it to pass through your being without grasping, without aversion, without identification. It teaches that your suffering is not the feeling itself, it's your resistance to it. Like wind trying to pass through a wall, the tension is born not from the wind, but from the wall. Remove the wall, and the wind becomes movement, not pain. Imagine emotion not as something to manage, but something to observe. A current of sensation that enters peaks and fades. When fear rises, don't clench. Feel it like wind brushing your skin, sharp, yes, but temporary. When sadness rises, don't retreat. Let it pass like rain over a dry field, cleansing, not drowning. The mind wants to explain it, contain it, define it, but the body just wants to feel. Trust the body. Trust the breath. Trust that every emotion, no matter how intense, has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It is not permanent. It is not you. It is an event, not an identity. Try this the next time you feel a powerful emotion. Close your eyes and breathe. Not to escape, but to stay. Feel where the emotion lives in your body. Is it in the chest? The belly? The throat? Stay there. Feel the sensation, not the story. The sensation. Heat, pressure, tingling, movement. Notice how it shifts, how it changes. It always changes. What felt unbearable a moment ago now feels different. Maybe just slightly, but different. That's all you need: presence, not perfection. You are not here to fix the storm. You are here to feel it pass through. And when you do, you remain still, whole, untouched at your core. The wind does not ask permission to blow. The storm does not wait until you're ready. Emotions will come often when you least expect. Your power lies not in controlling their arrival, but in choosing how you meet them. Will you resist and brace and harden? Or will you breathe, soften, and allow the tree that bends does not break? The bamboo yields and then returns. You too can learn this resilience, not through force but through surrender, through understanding that your true nature is the space. Emotions move through, not the emotion itself. Tonight, let whatever you feel rise and fall without interference. Don't push it away. Don't cling to it. Don't analyze it. Just breathe. Let the wind pass through you. Let your chest rise and fall with the breath, just as the sky holds the gusts without resistance. You are not meant to be unmoved. You are meant to move and return. And in this rhythm of allowing, you discover a peace far deeper than silence. A peace born from presence, from trust, from the knowing that nothing you feel can uproot who you truly are. You may wonder why you react the way you do, why certain words from others feel like sharp blades, why some situations make your heart race before your mind can even catch up. Often, your reactions are not about what is happening now. They are echoes of the past, traces of old wounds, rehearsals of old fears. Someone says something, and before you can even think, your body tightens, your breath shortens, and your voice rises or falls into silence. You do not choose to react. You are pulled. And then you feel regret, confusion, or shame for what felt beyond your control. But Buddhism doesn't ask you to suppress your reactions or scold yourself for them. It invites you to bring light to them, to see clearly, to understand the roots so you can begin to soften their hold. Reactivity is not weakness. It is pain remembered and unhealed. It is the body's way of saying, "I've felt this before." It is a survival reflex, not a moral failing. The first step to freedom is to pause. Just a breath, just a moment of awareness between trigger and response. That breath holds power. In that breath, you can choose something new. You can feel the heat rising, and instead of letting it spill out as anger, you notice it. You sit with it, and you say quietly inside, "This is reactivity." You name it, you don't become it. You feel it, you don't feed it. The space between stimulus and response is where your peace lives. It doesn't need to be long. Even one conscious breath can shift the course of your day. That is the power of mindfulness, not to make you passive, but to make you aware. Over time, as you build this habit of pausing, of noticing, you begin to see the patterns. You begin to recognize the moments when your mind wants to defend, attack, withdraw. And instead of reacting automatically, you rest in curiosity. What is this trying to protect? What story am I repeating? What am I afraid of losing? And with that inquiry, the reaction softens. The breath deepens. The heart opens. You return to the present, to the moment that is not defined by the past. The reaction loses its urgency. The pain loses its grip. You are no longer inside the storm, you are watching it pass. This is not about being emotionless. It is about being awake. It is about choosing how you respond instead of being pushed by habit. Every moment you choose stillness over reactivity, you build a different life. You bring healing not only to yourself, but to everyone you touch. Your calm becomes contagious. Your peace becomes a mirror in which others can see themselves more clearly. And it begins with just one breath, one pause, one moment of presence. Tonight, as you reflect on your day, notice the moments you reacted without awareness. Not to judge yourself, but to learn. Notice the physical sensations that came with those reactions, the tightening the heat, the quickening pulse, and then breathe. Place your attention on your breath now. Inhale slowly. Exhale even slower. Whisper inside, I choose peace. Let that be your prayer. Let that be your offering. Each time you notice a reaction and choose awareness, instead you are rewriting your path. You are planting seeds of freedom. And from those seeds, a more compassionate, more present version of you begins to bloom. In the space between an emotion and your reaction lies a doorway. It is subtle, quiet, and often missed, but it is always there. A sliver of stillness, a breath of possibility, a moment where you can choose not to follow the old path. In that pause, you are no longer a slave to habit. You are no longer bound by the stories you've told yourself 1,000 times. You are awake. You are present. You are free. This is the power of pausing, not to delay life, but to meet it with clarity. When something triggers you, whether it's a sharp word, a broken plan, or a familiar disappointment, your mind wants to move fast. It wants to speak before you've felt. It wants to act before you've understood. It wants to protect you by reaching for control, anger avoidance. But in that rush, wisdom is lost. The truth is missed. You say things you don't mean. You hurt others or retreat from connection. And afterward, you wonder why you reacted that way. Buddhism teaches that before every reaction, there is a seed. That seed can grow into more suffering or into understanding depending on what you do in that moment of pause. That pause is your refuge. Not because it makes the pain disappear, but because it gives you space to feel it honestly. When someone offends you, the pause lets you feel the sting without needing to retaliate. When disappointment rises, the pause allows you to grieve without collapsing. When fear surges, the pause becomes the ground under your feet, reminding you that you are safe to breathe. The pause is not about pretending. It's about presence. It's where you turn toward your experience with steadiness, not away from it with judgment. It is a breath, a whisper, a soft internal nod that says, I see this, and I will respond with care. This is not easy. The world is fast. Your mind is faster. You are surrounded by pressure to answer, to explain, to defend. But in that speed, so much is lost: your peace, your wisdom, your gentleness. The pause is your rebellion against that speed. It is your act of self-respect. You are not here to react like a machine. You are here to respond like a human, aware, soft, awake. Each time you pause, even for a heartbeat, you are watering the seeds of liberation. You are choosing not to be ruled by impulse. You are choosing to be present. And from that presence, a different kind of action emerges. Not reaction, but response. Not defense, but understanding. Not fear, but love. This is how healing begins. This is how relationships shift. This is how you stop recreating the same cycles of pain. The pause becomes your teacher. It shows you what you didn't see before. It opens a doorway to compassion, not only for others, but for yourself. It says, you don't have to be perfect. You only have to be here. Tonight, let this become your practice. As thoughts arise, as emotions ripple through your chest, do not rush to label or change them. Pause. Feel. Breathe. Let the body tell its story before the mind writes one. Let your breath be long, slow, kind, and in that breath, let yourself rest. You are not what happens to you. You are not your reactions. You are the space where all things rise and fall. You are the pause that holds the storm. You are the stillness that holds the world. There is a fire inside you. It ignites when something feels wrong, when your boundaries are crossed, when your voice is unheard. That fire is called anger. It rises hot, quick, and fierce. And when it takes hold, it burns through thought, through breath, through connection. You say things you can't unsay. You harden in ways that take hours, sometimes years, to soften. But Buddhism does not label anger as bad or shameful. It sees anger as energy, powerful, urgent, alive, but dangerous when unconscious. It teaches not to fear the fire, but to sit with it, to understand it, to witness it, without throwing it outward or turning it inward. You don't have to extinguish the flame. You only need to stop feeding it. Anger left alone and untreated grows through reaction. It feeds on thoughts, on justifications, on imagined insults, and replays of conversations. It becomes a storm when you keep stoking it. But when you sit with it quietly, honestly, patiently, it begins to settle. It begins to speak. You may discover that beneath the anger is sadness. Beneath the sadness is hurt. Beneath the hurt is longing to be seen, to be respected, to be safe. And when you touch that deeper layer, your heart softens. You stop needing to fight and instead begin to feel. You stop needing to win and begin to heal. Anger is often the first language of pain that was never given space. It says, I matter, even when it sounds harsh. But the deeper truth is, I want to be understood. When you listen not just to the surface of anger, but to its root, you become less afraid of it. You no longer need to shout or shut down. You begin to speak with clarity, not aggression. You begin to move with strength, not force. This is the path of emotional maturity, not in denying anger, but in befriending it. Sit with the fire, but do not add wood. When anger arises, feel it in the body. Where does it burn? The jaw, the stomach, the chest. Can you feel the heat without flinching? Can you breathe into it instead of running from it? Can you be curious about what it's asking for? When you do this, You change your relationship to your own intensity. You become the container, not the explosion. The stillness that holds the fire without being consumed. This kind of inner strength cannot be faked. It is earned breath by breath, moment by moment, by choosing awareness over impulse. This does not mean you allow harm or silence your truth. It means you speak with grounded power, not wounded force. You learn to act without aggression, to set boundaries, without punishment, to express pain, without projection. And in doing so, you invite others to meet you there. Anger becomes not destruction, but transformation. The fire cooks instead of burns. It purifies. It clarifies. It wakes you up to where healing is needed, not as blame, but as insight. Tonight, let your fire rest. If there is anger in your heart, do not fear it. Welcome it gently. Breathe with it. Ask it what it truly needs, not who it wants to punish, but what it longs to feel. Ask it what part of you has not been heard. Let the breath move through the heat. Let the body soften around the flame. You are strong enough to feel without exploding. You are wise enough to pause without suppressing. You are deep enough to listen without judgment. And in that listening, the fire calms, the night returns, the heart becomes a quiet ember, and you no longer fighting begin to heal from the inside out. There is a weight in your chest that lingers after betrayal, after abandonment, after words that cut so deep you still feel the echo. That weight is the burden of resentment, of blame, of the quiet ache that says, they hurt me and I cannot let it go. Forgiveness is one of the hardest paths you will ever walk, not because the pain is not real, but because the story of the pain becomes a part of you. You wrap yourself in it. You replay it. You use it as a shield to keep others out, or a wall to keep yourself small. But the longer you hold that pain, the more it shapes you. You think you are protecting yourself, but you are only carrying more than you were meant to. Buddhism teaches that forgiveness is not about forgetting or excusing harm. It is about choosing freedom over imprisonment. It is not something you do for others. It is something you offer yourself. A release, a letting go, a surrender of the need to keep holding the sword that's been hurting your own hand. You might say, but they don't deserve forgiveness. And that may be true, but forgiveness is not about deserving. It is about releasing the poison from your own heart. It is about stopping the cycle of suffering. It is about no longer letting your life be defined by what someone else did or did not do. When you hold on to anger, to blame, to the identity of being wronged, you bind yourself to the past. You stay tethered to the very thing you wish you could move beyond. Forgiveness cuts that cord, not to erase the past, but to stop it from writing your future. Forgiveness doesn't always feel like light. Sometimes it feels like grief. Grieving what you hoped for, what you needed, what you deserved, but did not receive. And in that grief, something begins to shift. You cry not just for what was done, but for what it cost you to keep carrying it. And when the tears have run their course, there is space again. Space to breathe. Space to remember who you are when you are not defined by the wound. You do not forgive because you are weak. You forgive because you are strong enough to no longer let pain be your home. Begin gently. Think of the person or situation that still holds weight in your heart. You don't have to forgive them fully right now. You don't have to speak to them or see them again. You don't even have to understand them. You only have to soften. To say to yourself, I no longer wish to suffer because of this. To place a hand on your heart and breathe into that intention. Not once, but again and again. Forgiveness is not a one-time act. It is a practice, a direction, a quiet unfolding over time. Some days, it feels possible. Other days, it feels too far. That's okay. Keep breathing. Keep returning. Keep opening. Sometimes the one you must forgive is yourself, for the choices you made when you didn't know better, for the ways you stayed too long or left too soon, for the words you spoke in fear, for the silence you held in shame. Self-forgiveness is not letting yourself off the hook. It is letting yourself heal. You cannot punish yourself into wholeness. You cannot shame yourself into peace. You can only offer yourself what you longed for from others, understanding compassion, a willingness to see the good heart beneath the mistake. Tonight, let forgiveness begin in the breath. Inhale gently. Exhale slowly. Let the body feel safe. Let the heart feel heard. If a memory arises, meet it with softness. If anger appears, let it move without latching onto it. If grief comes, welcome it like rain falling on dry earth. You are not your pain. You are the space around it, the awareness that sees it, the strength that can hold it and release it. Forgiveness is not a destination. It is a return to peace, to love, to the stillness that has always waited beneath the wound. There are times when even in a room full of people, you feel the weight of isolation pressing against your chest. A silence that has nothing to do with sound. A distance that has nothing to do with geography. Loneliness comes not only from the absence of others, but from the illusion that you are separate. You look around and believe everyone else is moving through life with more ease, more connection, more love, while you drift quietly beneath the surface, unseen. But this belief, though painful, is not the truth. It is a trick of the mind, a shadow cast by the ego that says you are alone, when in fact, you are deeply connected to others, to life, to the same breath that moves through all things. Buddhism teaches the truth of interbeing, that nothing exists independently, that no wave exists separate from the ocean, that you are not a solitary self floating in isolation, but part of the great web of life, always supported, always touched by everything around you, whether you can see it or not. When you believe in separation, you begin to grasp. You reach for connection in ways that feel desperate or painful. You hold too tightly, or you withdraw out of fear. You tell yourself that you must earn love, that you must be perfect to belong. But you already belong. You were born into belonging. Every breath you take is shared with the trees, with the sky, with every being on this planet. Your pain is not private, it is shared. Your joy is not isolated, it touches others. You are not alone in your grief. your confusion, your longing. Someone else right now is feeling it too. And even if they are not in the room with you, their presence echoes in your experience. When you sit in stillness, you do not sit alone. You sit with all beings. You sit with the same awareness that pulses through everything. This does not mean you will never feel lonely again, but it means you can begin to question the voice that says you are cut off. You can begin to recognize that loneliness is not a flaw in you. It is a misperception of disconnection. And when you bring gentle attention to it, it begins to dissolve. You start to notice the ways in which life is always reaching out to meet you. In the warmth of sunlight on your skin, in the sound of a bird at dawn, in the way your breath enters you without asking for permission. You begin to see that you are being held even when no one else is physically near. Sometimes, the path to dissolving loneliness is to offer presence to others, not to escape your own feelings, but to remember the web you're part of. A kind word, a listening ear, a small act of care. Each of these reweaves the threads of connection. Each of these reminds you that you are part of something larger. You stop waiting to be loved and begin embodying love. You stop waiting to be seen and begin seeing. And in the deepest moments, even when no one is near you, can sit with yourself not as an enemy, but as a companion. You can place a hand over your heart and say softly, "I am here with you." These words may seem simple, but they are profound. They bring warmth where there was coldness, presence where there was absence. You become your own refuge, and in doing so, you find that you are never truly alone. Tonight, let yourself be held by this truth. As you lie in the quiet, feel the breath that connects you to every living being. Imagine others breathing too resting, too seeking peace, just as you are. Let your breath be a thread woven into a fabric of stillness that surrounds and supports you. You are not apart. You are a part. You are not isolated. You are infinite. Let this knowing cradle you as you rest. Let it soften the edges of solitude. Let it remind you that love is not something far away. It is what you are made of. There are nights when the world feels too loud, even in us. When the weight of everything you cannot control, cannot fix, cannot predict hums like static behind your thoughts. You close your eyes, but your mind does not follow. It spins, it replays. It rehearses futures that haven't arrived and reawakens pasts that cannot be changed. Sleep slips just beyond reach, and the body that owes still remains alert in a restless kind of way. But what if peace was not the absence of noise, but the presence of something deeper? Buddhism teaches that the deepest rest is not born from changing the world around you, but from returning to the stillness within you, even when chaos exists. It teaches that you can sleep beneath the noise, beneath the worry, beneath the surface of all your thoughts, not by escaping, but by sinking below them like a stone settling to the bottom of a lake. There is a place inside you that does not react, that does not rush, that is untouched by the outer storm. That place is always available, and it becomes accessible the moment you stop trying to control the waves and instead Allow yourself to float within them. Sleep, then, is not something you force. It is something you allow. You do not chase it. You soften into it. You do not command the mind to be quiet. You offer it something gentler, a rhythm, a breath, a presence. Just as the body knows how to breathe without your effort, it also knows how to rest. What gets in the way is not the body's ability, but the mind's resistance. The mind wants to solve, to finish, to protect, but there is nothing to solve right now, nothing to finish, nothing to protect. The night asks nothing of you but surrender. Let the bed hold you like the earth. Let your limbs grow heavy, your breath slow and deep, your thoughts float like leaves. You do not need to understand everything. You do not need to prepare for every possibility. All of that will return in the morning, if it must. For now, trust that rest is a worthy practice. Trust that sleep is not a luxury, but a healing. It is not absence. It is presence in another form. A softer form. A form that carries you into the heart of stillness where no thought can follow, where no fear can find you, where nothing is missing. If the mind resists, let it. Do not wrestle with it. Observe it gently. Watch the thoughts appear and disappear, like bubbles rising and popping on the surface of a pond. Beneath those bubbles, the water is calm. You are that calm. Let your awareness sink downward into the belly, into the breath, into the warmth of the body. Feel the breath move like a lullaby. Inhale long and low. Exhale slow and deep. With each breath, imagine a soft wind brushing through your mind, clearing away what is no longer needed. You do not need to force your way into peace. You only need to stop pushing away from it. Allow the body to guide you home. Trust the silence. Let yourself be breathed. Let yourself be held by the moment. If there is noise outside, let it be. If there are thoughts inside, let them pass. You do not need the world to be quiet in order to sleep. You only need to stop clinging to its noise. Beneath the noise, there is always stillness. Beneath the mind, there is always rest. Tonight, you are safe. Tonight, you are enough. You have done enough, said enough, thought enough. Now, let go. Let the current of your breath carry you like a leaf on gentle water. No effort, no resistance. Only being. Only breath. Only sleep. Let the storms rage above if they must. You are below them now. Deeper, calmer, still. You make plans. You set goals. You imagine how things should unfold, how people should behave, how life should reward your effort. And in your mind, these visions feel like anchors, something to hold on to, something to aim for. But what happens when life does not follow your design? What happens when the outcome you hoped for slips away, when things fall apart despite your best efforts? When the road turns without warning, you suffer. Not because of the event itself, but because of your attachment to how it was supposed to go. Buddhism teaches that suffering is born not from reality, but from expectation, from clinging to outcomes, from demanding that life bend to your will. And yet life does not belong to your expectations. It belongs to itself. It moves in cycles and turns in unseen rhythms and surprising gifts. To be free is not to stop caring, but to stop grasping. To hold your desires lightly. To release your grip on the ending so you can live fully in the middle. Letting go of outcomes is not giving up. It is letting in. Letting in what is here now, what is real, what is breathing with you in this moment. It is understanding that you cannot control the arrival of every joy, nor the departure of every pain. But you can control how deeply you live the moment between. When you stop needing a guarantee, you start living from trust. Trust that what leaves is meant to go. Trust that what stays has something to teach you. Trust that even disappointment can open new doors. When you release the script you've been trying to force, you begin to see the beauty in improvisation. You begin to respond to life, not control it. And in that response, there is grace. The mind wants certainty. It wants to know what comes next. But the truth is, you never really know. And this not knowing is not a curse. It is the space where miracles grow. If everything followed your plan, you would never be surprised, never be broken open in ways that lead to new understanding. Life, in its wisdom, often gives you not what you asked for, but what your deeper self needs. And you may not see that truth in the moment, but looking back, you will. You'll see how the closed door protected you, how the ending was a beginning, how the failure softened your heart, how the detour led to something unexpected and necessary. Try this now. Call to mind something you've been gripping too tightly, a result you're afraid to lose, a future you've been trying to shape with force. Feel how your body reacts to the idea of letting it go. The tension, the fear, the resistance. And then breathe. Breathe into the fear, not away from it. With each breath, whisper silently, let go. Not to abandon hope, but to loosen your suffering. Not to stop caring, but to stop clinging. You can still move forward, still act, still love. But now you do so with freedom. Now you allow life to meet you where you are not just where you expected to be. Tonight, rest in the freedom of not knowing. Let the outcome drift into the background. Let the story lose its grip. Let the breath be your home, not the plan. You are not here to control the ending. You are here to live this breath fully, kindly awake. You are not waiting for life to begin once things go your way. Life is now. It has always been now, and it is enough. There is a healing that does not come from effort, from striving, from doing more. It comes from the silence between breaths, from the stillness that settles when you stop running from yourself. So much of your life has been shaped by the desire to fix, to improve, to make better what feels broken. And yet the more you try to fix, the more fragmented you feel. Because the fixing mind is often rooted in the belief that something is wrong with you, that you must be repaired before you can rest. But Buddhism invites you into a different kind of healing, one that arises not from doing, but from being. A healing that happens when you stop interfering, stop chasing, stop resisting what is. It happens when you return to yourself with quiet attention, with no agenda, with no urgency, like a wound that closes, not because you picked at it, but because you stopped touching it and let the body remember its natural intelligence. Healing happens in silence and space, in the gentle unfolding of presence. The mind will want to ask, am I better yet? Have I done enough? But these questions only pull you back into restlessness. The deeper part of you already knows how to heal. The breath knows how to soften the body. The heart knows how to release sorrow when it is allowed to weep. The nervous system knows how to unwind when it is given safety and time. Your only task is to create the conditions for healing, to sit in stillness, to breathe, to let the noise fall away, even if just for a few minutes. In that space, something opens, something realigns, not because you made it happen, but because you allowed it. You do not need to earn rest. You do not need to wait until everything is perfect. You do not need to become someone else before you can soften into this moment. Right here, as you are healing, is already underway. Even in your tension, even in your confusion, even in your doubt. Healing is not a straight line. It is a spiral. Some days feel clear. Others are heavy. This is not failure. This is rhythm. Like the tides, like the moon, like breath itself. You rise and fall, expand and contract. There is wisdom in the rhythm. You don't have to fight it. Let go of the belief that healing must be dramatic or immediate. It can be subtle. It can happen while you rest, while you sleep, while you sit with your hand over your heart and simply breathe. Trust the small movements, the soft moments, the quiet decisions to return to yourself instead of abandoning your needs. Each time you choose stillness over self-criticism, presence over pressure, kindness over judgment, you are healing. You are returning home. Tonight, let the silence do the work. Let the breath be your medicine. Let the body be your teacher. There is nothing you need to force. No part of you that must be rushed. Inhale gently, exhale slowly. Let the breath move through your body like a river through stone, smoothing the edges, clearing the way. Say to yourself, I allow healing. Not as a command, but as a soft permission. You are not broken. You are becoming whole again. And all you must do now is rest. The people in your life are mirrors. Sometimes they reflect love and safety, and other times they reflect your shadows, your wounds, your doubts, your unmet needs. And though it can be tempting to blame others for your discomfort, Buddhism gently points you inward. It reminds you that relationships are not just about connection. They are opportunities for awakening. Every interaction is a chance to see yourself more clearly, to meet the parts of you that still need kindness, that still need understanding. When someone triggers you, they are not creating the pain, they are revealing it. They are showing you where a scar still pulses, where a story still lives, where healing still waits. This is not about blaming yourself for how others behave. It's about reclaiming your power by recognizing what is yours to tend. When you see others as teachers instead of threats, your reactivity softens. Your curiosity grows. You start to ask, What is this moment trying to show me about myself? The ego wants to defend. It wants to point outward. They made me feel this way. If only they changed, I could be at peace. But peace built on someone else's behavior is fragile. It is easily broken. True peace comes when you stop outsourcing your stability and begin building it within. When you pause in the middle of conflict and ask not just what did they do, but also what in me is reacting, what belief is being touched, what need is being exposed. This is not easy. It takes courage to turn the mirror toward yourself. But in that reflection lies freedom. You begin to respond not from old wounds, but from new awareness. Relationships, especially the closest ones, are often the most intense mirrors. They show you your habits, your fears, your desires for control or approval. They show you how easily you abandon your own center to please or to fight. But they also offer you a chance to return, to stand in your truth with softness, to hold boundaries without closing your heart, to love without losing yourself. Every person you meet gives you this chance. Some come with tenderness. Others come with friction. All of them are part of the path. Even the most painful relationships can be teachers. The one who left taught you about attachment. The one who betrayed showed you where you gave your power away. The one who stayed reminded you that you are lovable even in your rawest state. These lessons don't erase the pain, but they help you grow from it. They help you carry it differently, with less bitterness, with more wisdom. You stop needing to rewrite the past and begin writing your present with more care. This does not mean you keep people who harm you close. It means you meet each encounter with presence. You discern not from fear, but from clarity. You set boundaries, not to punish, but to protect your peace. You forgive, not to erase the past, but to free your future. You choose how deeply to let others in, not from loneliness, but from love. Love that is rooted in your own stillness, not in need or grasping. Tonight, reflect on the mirrors in your life. Who has challenged you lately? What did they awaken in you? What story did their actions stir? And can you meet that story, not with judgment, but with gentle inquiry? Can you thank the reflection even if it was difficult to see? This is the practice not to fix others, but to see yourself more clearly through them. To use each moment of connection as a doorway back to presence. Let the breath guide you now. Inhale and feel your center. Exhale and release what is not yours. You are not here to be perfect in relationships. You are here to grow, to wake up to love with eyes open and a heart anchored in stillness. Let that be enough. There is a pressure that follows you quietly through your days, the pressure to be better, to do more, to finally reach some imagined version of perfection. You measure yourself against ideals that shift constantly, chasing standards set by voices that don't even know your heart. You carry the weight of comparison, of self-doubt, of internal judgment that whispers you're not enough yet. And so you strive, you push, you perform, you hide your flaws and criticize your softness. But Buddhism invites you to a gentler truth. Nothing needs to be perfect to be worthy. Nothing needs to be flawless to be beautiful. You are not here to become an idea. You are here to be real, to live fully, to love this imperfect breathing moment as it is. Perfectionism is not presence. It is tension. It is the refusal to allow what is natural, what is messy, what is human. It demands that joy be earned, that rest be justified, that every step be calculated. And in that demand, life becomes tight. Your breath shortens, your shoulders stiffen. You begin to see every mistake as a threat, every flaw as a danger. But there is no freedom in that kind of living. Only fear, only exhaustion. Buddhism teaches the wisdom of letting go of this illusion of control. It teaches that the true path is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming intimate with the truth of what is. When you stop judging your experience and start meeting it moment by moment, you soften. You stop needing to fix. You begin to trust that life unfolds perfectly even when it's messy. You do not need to be more impressive. You need to be more present. You do not need to prove your worth. You only need to remember it. Right now, as you are already enough. Not because of your accomplishments, but because of your awareness. Because you are willing to show up, to breathe through discomfort, to listen to your heart. That is enough. That has always been enough. Your worth is not measured by productivity, appearance, or the absence of error. It is measured by your willingness to stay open in a world that teaches you to harden. It is measured by your choice to be kind even when you feel broken. Practice noticing when perfectionism appears. It often hides behind good intentions. I just want to do my best. I want everything to go smoothly. But underneath, there is fear. The fear of not being loved, of being rejected, of losing control. When you feel that tightness arise, breathe into it. Gently say, "It's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to make mistakes." Let your body hear it. Let your nervous system settle into the safety of imperfection. It is not a flaw. It is your doorway to growth. When things don't go to plan, when emotions are messy, when you feel lost, you are not off track. You are in life's classroom. You are learning how to return to yourself without needing to be polished. Let go of the belief that you must earn rest. You were not born to hustle through your healing. You were born to sit beside your pain with compassion. You were born to meet each moment, not with judgment, but with presence. To trust that even when things fall apart, you are still held by something deeper, something silent, something still. That stillness is not found at the end of a to-do list. It is found in the exhale and the surrender, in the quiet truth that everything belongs, even your flaws. Tonight, release the need to be perfect. Let your body be exactly as it is. Let your thoughts be soft and uncorrected. Let your breath be uneven if it must. Say to yourself, "I am allowed to be human." Let that truth sink into your bones. Let it carry you into sleep not as a reward, but as a right. You don't have to do anything else to be worthy of peace. You already are. You always were. You live through patterns, through invisible loops that play out again and again like music you didn't choose but somehow keep dancing to. You find yourself in similar situations, having the same arguments, feeling the same hurt, reacting in familiar ways that leave you wondering, why does this keep happening to me? Buddhism offers an answer, not of blame, but of insight. It speaks of karma, not as punishment, but as the natural unfolding of cause and effect. Karma is not fate, it is habit. It is energy moving through time, shaped by your thoughts, your choices, your intentions. It is not locked in stone. It is fluid living, always influenced by your awareness. When you bring light to a pattern, it begins to lose its grip. When you respond with clarity instead of impulse, the cycle begins to unwind. Emotional patterns are no different. They arise not because you are broken, but because the mind, like water, follows familiar channels. But the moment you notice the path, you begin to carve a new one. That noticing is everything. When the same emotion returns, when fear clutches your chest in that familiar way, when resentment boils at the same trigger, when you fall into despair over the same kind of silence, you have a choice. You can react as you always have, or you can pause. You can look. You can feel. You can ask, what is the story here? What is this really about? Not to analyze endlessly, but to create space, to create breath. Karma loses strength not when you conquer it, but when you see it clearly. Awareness weakens the pattern. Presence rewrites the script. The energy no longer flows blindly. It is held, witnessed, transformed. This practice is not instant. These patterns were built over years, sometimes lifetimes. They are familiar because they were once useful. Perhaps you learned to shut down to survive, to lash out to protect, to disappear, to avoid rejection. These were strategies born from pain. But you are no longer that child. You are no longer powerless. You have breath now. You have wisdom. You have choice. And each time you choose differently, even in small ways, you plant new karma. Each time you sit with discomfort, rather than react to it. Each time you offer compassion to a part of you that used to be ignored, you reshape your future. Not just for yourself, but for everyone you touch. This is the heart of Buddhist transformation, not to escape karma, but to transform it through awareness. To meet the same moment again, but with a different heart. You might still feel the same old tension, but now you breathe into it. You might still hear the same voice of self-doubt, but now you answer it with kindness. This is how the pattern unravels. This is how you free yourself. Tonight, as you lie in stillness, reflect on one emotional loop you know well. Maybe it's a fear that keeps showing up. Maybe it's a reaction that feels automatic. Bring it into the light of your awareness, not to judge, but to understand. Trace its edges. Feel its shape. Say silently, I see you. Let your breath meet it. Let your softness hold it. And then remind yourself, I am not this pattern. I am the one who sees it. You are not bound by the past. You are not doomed to repeat. You are a river capable of changing course. With each breath, with each pause, you are choosing a new direction. Let that be your quiet revolution. When everything feels scattered, your thoughts running ahead, your emotions pulled in every direction, your body disconnected from your breath. There is one place you can always return to, one anchor that has never left you, your breathing. Simple, silent, always present. The breath is the most ancient companion you have. It arrived with you at birth, and it will be with you in your final moment. It does not demand attention, but it offers it. It does not rush yet, it carries you forward. In Buddhist practice, the breath is not just a function of the body, it is a path, a teacher, a refuge. It is the doorway to this moment, and this moment is where freedom lives. No matter how far your thoughts have traveled, no matter how loud your feelings have grown, one conscious breath brings you home. Breathing is more than survival, it is remembrance. Each inhale invites awareness in. Each exhale lets go of what no longer serves. You do not need to force the breath. You simply return to it, gently, kindly. You notice its texture, its rhythm, its sound. Is it shallow? Deep, fast, soft? Let it be what it is. The breath tells you the truth about your state. When you are anxious, it tightens. When you are peaceful, it lengthens. And when you place your attention on it without judgment, it begins to regulate itself. Not because you are controlling it, but because you are allowing space for balance to return. The breath grounds you in the now. It doesn't exist in the past or the future. It happens only here. When your mind pulls you into regrets or pushes you into fears, the breath brings you back. This inhale, this exhale, right here. You don't have to fix your mind. You don't have to wrestle with your emotions. Just breathe. One breath at a time. That is the practice. That is the path. And it is always available. This practice may seem too simple to change anything. But simplicity is where depth begins. When you commit to meeting the breath as it is, you build a relationship with presence. You stop abandoning yourself in mental noise. You begin to see that everything you were seeking, calm, clarity, connection, lives underneath the layers of your rushing. They live in the still space the breath reveals. Try resting your attention now on the breath. Not to change it, but to meet it. Let your belly rise gently. Let it fall softly. Notice the pause at the top of the inhale. The pause at the bottom of the exhale. These pauses are not empty. They are alive. They are spacious. They are the doorway to stillness. And in that stillness, there is a different kind of knowing. Not thought, but awareness. Not effort, but presence. You remember that you are not the storm. You are the one breathing through it. And when the mind pulls away, as it will, you do not scold it. You simply return, over and over. Each return is an act of love. Each return is a reclaiming. You are not failing when the mind wanders. You are practicing when you bring it back. There is no destination. Only this moment. Only this breath. Let the breath remind you that peace is not somewhere else. It is here, not later. Now. Tonight, let your breath be the lullaby. Inhale slowly, exhale fully. Let your body relax into the rhythm. Let your thoughts fall into the background. Let your presence rise. You do not need to understand everything. You do not need to have perfect focus. You only need to breathe. The breath will take you home. Again and again, it will return you to yourself. Let it carry you into sleep, into silence, into stillness. This breath is enough. You are enough. Beneath all the noise, beneath the stories, beneath the shifting moods and the rising thoughts, there is a still lake inside you. It is not always easy to find. The surface is often stirred by daily worries, by memories that ripple through your mind, by fears that act like wind across the water. But if you sit long enough, if you breathe softly enough, the movement settles. And what once seemed chaotic begins to quiet. The lake reveals itself not through effort, but through non-resistance. This is your inner stillness. It does not need to be created. It only needs to be uncovered. It has always been there waiting for your return. Buddhism teaches that this stillness is your true nature, not something added to you by wisdom, but something revealed when the distractions fade. Like a reflection returning to a still pond, clarity arises when you stop stirring the surface. You are not the waves. You are the water beneath them, and that water is already whole. You may ask, but how do I reach that stillness when my mind won't stop? The answer is, you don't reach it by fighting. You reach it by observing. The mind's movements are not obstacles. They are part of the lake's surface. Watch them. Let them rise. Let them fall. A thought comes, and instead of grabbing it, you let it float. An emotion rises, and instead of clinging, you let it move through. The breath is your boat. Your awareness is the gentle oar. With each breath, you drift toward the center of yourself, not through distance, but through depth. You are not going anywhere. You are arriving. The stillness within you is not the absence of thought, but the space in which thought appears. It is not the absence of emotion, but the openness that holds emotion without resistance. It is not fragile. It does not disappear when life becomes difficult. In fact, it becomes more visible when you are willing to be still in the middle of discomfort. Stillness is not silence that lacks life. It is silence that contains all life. When you rest there, you are not shutting down. You are tuning in. Let yourself settle now. Imagine the lake within you. Feel the breath move through your body like wind across water. Let each exhale smooth the surface. Let each inhale bring depth. With time, the ripples grow smaller. The noise quiets. You are not controlling the mind. You are letting the body remember what peace feels like. You are giving permission for stillness to rise. This stillness is not something only monks or sages know. It belongs to you too. It is your inheritance. It is the place within you that remains steady, no matter how much the world shakes. It is the space you can return to again and again when everything else feels too loud, too much, too fast. And the more you return to this inner lake, the more it begins to shape the rest of your life. You start to carry stillness into conversations, into work, into grief, into love. You speak more slowly. You listen more deeply. You react less quickly. You feel more fully. You become less afraid of the unknown because you found the part of you that does not fear. The part that simply is. The part that watches, waits, breathes, and trusts. Tonight, let yourself rest on the surface of this inner lake. Imagine your body floating weightless, held by the water of your own awareness. Let the tension dissolve. Let the mind settle. You are safe to be still. You are safe to be quiet. You are safe to stop trying. There is nothing to fix here. Nothing to chase. Nothing to change. Only this breath. only this moment, only this stillness that welcomes you home. Let it hold you now. Let it rock you gently into sleep. There are times when the path ahead feels unclear, when your plans unravel, when you no longer know which way to turn. You stand at a threshold surrounded by doubt, craving signs, longing for something solid to grasp. In those moments, the mind panics. It searches for certainty, like a drowning person searches for air. But life in its deeper wisdom often offers not clarity but space, not answers but quiet, not instructions but pauses. Buddhism teaches that the need for control is rooted in fear. The fear that if you do not shape life tightly, it will fall apart. But the truth is, life is not something you must master. It is something you can trust. Just as seeds know when to bloom, rivers know how to find the sea, and birds know when to turn their wings, you too carry an inner wisdom. The more you force, the less you feel it. The more you soften, the clearer it becomes. Trust is not passive. Trust is deep listening. It is the still voice inside that says, you don't have to know everything to take the next breath. To trust the process is to allow life to unfold in its own time. It is to release the belief that your timeline is the only valid one. It is to understand that delays are not always denial, that confusion is not failure, that uncertainty is fertile ground for transformation. When you trust, you shift from urgency to patience. You stop measuring your progress against someone else's path. You start paying attention to what is unfolding beneath the surface, less visible but deeply real. You recognize that not all growth is immediate or loud. Some of it happens in the quiet dark, like roots expanding silently under the soil, preparing to hold something beautiful. You may not always see what is working in your favor. You may feel lost while being led. You may feel stuck while something deeper is being rearranged inside you. But that doesn't mean you are off track. It means you are in the part of the story where mystery is doing its work. Trust means leaning into that mystery. It means saying, I don't know how, but I believe something meaningful is forming. It means loosening your grip on outcomes and tightening your connection to presence. You begin to measure progress not by how much you achieve, but by how calmly you can sit in the unknown. Try practicing trust now through the breath. Inhale gently, knowing that this breath knows where to go. Exhale slowly, knowing that you don't have to push. Let the rhythm guide you. Let the body show you what surrender feels like, not collapse, but cooperation. Not giving up, but giving in. Give in to this moment. Give in to the truth that you don't need all the pieces to feel whole. You are already on the path. Even when you feel motionless, something inside is moving. Even when the road disappears, the earth beneath you still holds you. And when doubt comes, which it will meet it not with force, but with kindness, say, it's okay not to know. It's okay to be in between. Speak to yourself as you would to a child looking for light, with patience, with warmth, with trust. Because just like a seed does not question how it will grow, you too can stop asking when everything will make sense. It will, in its time. You are not late. You are not behind. You are becoming. Tonight, let go of needing to see the whole map. Let go of needing all the answers. Let go of needing to understand what tomorrow holds. Trust that your breath is part of the wind that moves everything forward. Trust that the same intelligence that paints the sky and stirs the ocean is working through you too. Trust that you are being held even now, even here. Inhale and know. Exhale and release. You are already enough, already moving, already becoming more than you can yet imagine. There are certain sensations you avoid instinctively. Tightness in the chest, a dull ache in your heart, a lump in your throat that rises without warning. These are the signs of pain arriving at your door. And most of your life, you've been taught to resist it, to distract yourself, to numb it, to bury it beneath tasks or entertainment or even positivity. But Buddhism teaches a different path. It says that pain is not the enemy. Pain is a messenger. Pain is part of the human fabric. To feel pain is not a failure of your practice, your strength, or your spirit. It is a confirmation that you are alive, that you care, that you are touched by the impermanence of all things. The suffering begins not with the pain itself, but with your refusal to feel it. The moment you turn away, the pain becomes tangled in fear, in shame and judgment. But when you meet it directly with presence, it begins to soften. When you say to it, you are allowed, it begins to shift. Pain does not need you to fix it. It needs you to witness it, to befriend it, to let it pass through you without becoming your identity. Often, you believe that feeling pain will overwhelm you, that if you let it in fully, it will never leave. But the truth is what you avoid only lingers longer. The emotions you suppress become heavier. The memories you deny become louder. But the pain you allow, truly allow, moves. Slowly, gently, naturally. It flows like water through the body. And once it is seen, it no longer needs to scream. The act of turning toward pain is the act of reclaiming your power. You are no longer its prisoner. You become its witness, and the witness is always free. Let yourself sit with this now. If there is pain in you, physical, emotional, recent, or old, invite it forward. Not to analyze it, not to drown in it, but to feel it without fear. Where does it live? In your body. What shape does it take? A burning, a hollowness, a weight. Breathe into it without trying to change it. Meet it like you would meet a frightened child, gently, patiently, with kindness. Say silently, "You are safe now. I'm not going to push you away." Feel how even that gesture begins to loosen something inside. The body knows how to release when it feels safe. The pain begins to unfold, to dissolve, not because you forced it to, but because you made room for it. This does not mean that all pain will disappear. Some pain stays longer. Some becomes part of your inner landscape. But even long-held pain can be held with grace. It does not have to define you, does not have to rule your mind. You can carry it like a bowl of water, balanced, gentle, mindful, not spilling it onto others, not letting it consume you, but holding it as part of your path. Pain humbles. It awakens compassion. It deepens your capacity to understand others. It softens your judgments. It makes you real. Do not fear what makes you real. Tonight, if pain is present in you, do not turn away. Let the breath be your guide. Inhale with acceptance. Exhale with tenderness. Let your breath surround the place that hurts, not to chase it out, but to hold it gently. Say inwardly, I allow this. I can sit with this. I will not abandon myself. You are not broken for feeling pain. You are whole enough to feel everything. You are brave enough to let it be here. And in that bravery, in that stillness, healing begins. Not in fixing, but in allowing. Not in resisting, but in remaining. Stay here with yourself and let the pain know it no longer needs to scream to be heard. In a world that values constant movement, endless achievement, and the loud celebration of productivity, the act of doing less can feel like rebellion. You've been conditioned to believe that your worth is tied to your output, that slowing down is laziness, that rest must be earned. But Buddhism points to a deeper truth. Stillness is not the absence of life. It is life lived more fully. When you slow down, you don't lose time. You return to it. You begin to feel the spaces between moments, the richness within each breath, the quiet presence that's always been there beneath the noise. Doing less doesn't mean caring less. It means caring with more depth, with more attention, with more soul. You begin to see that rushing does not make you more alive. Presence does. Slowness does. Feeling does. When you are always racing ahead, you miss the miracle of what's here. There is a clarity that arises only in slowness, a clarity that cannot be found while hurrying, while multitasking, while thinking 5 steps ahead. When you do less, you begin to notice more. The way the light moves across the wall, the subtle shift in your breath when you exhale longer, the soft pull of emotion that arises in the stillness. The body speaks, but only when you listen. The heart opens, but only when it is not buried beneath a schedule. To feel more, you must be willing to pause. To hear more, you must be willing to stop speaking. This is not withdrawal. It is arrival. It is not escape, it is contact. You touch your life more intimately when you are not distracted by everything outside of it. Try this as you rest here now. Ask yourself what you've been trying so hard to keep up with. What part of you is running, and what is it running from? And then ask, what if I stopped? Not forever, not irresponsibly, but just long enough to feel. What happens when you let yourself breathe without counting the seconds? When you sit without needing to achieve a result? When you allow a moment to be enough? In that space, you'll find something rare, calm aliveness, a state where you're not pushing or pulling, just being, just sensing, just existing with your whole self awake. Doing less is not a technique. It is a return to your natural rhythm. Like the tide, you are meant to ebb and flow. Like the trees, you are meant to rest and renew. The mind will resist this at first. It will tell you to hurry, to be productive, to get something done. That voice is not your enemy. It is your conditioning. Smile at it. Breathe with it. Say, thank you, but I choose presence now. Then return to the breath. return to the body. Return to the softness that's been waiting for your attention. As you slow down, you may notice that emotions you've been avoiding begin to surface. This is natural. When you stop distracting yourself, you begin to feel. Don't rush through it. Let the feelings come. Let them stay. Let them go. Emotions are not obstacles. They are guests. They pass through when you stop locking the door. Your task is not to manage them, but to welcome them, to allow them to move like wind across a field, changing nothing, disturbing, nothing, simply passing. Tonight, practice doing less. Let go of the need to organize your thoughts. Let go of the need to plan tomorrow. Let go of the need to understand everything. Let the breath be enough. Let the warmth of your body against the bed be enough. Let the quiet be enough. You are not missing anything. You are not falling behind. You are returning. Each moment of stillness is a moment of homecoming. Let yourself arrive. Let yourself feel. Let yourself be. There is a moment always available when you realize that your mind has wandered. It could be a thought about something you said years ago, or a worry about something that hasn't happened yet. It could be a fantasy, a memory, a plan, or a loop of self-criticism. Whatever it is, the moment you notice it, you are no longer lost in it. You are awake, and that moment of noticing is precious. It is not failure. It is awareness. Buddhism teaches that you will wander again and again, and that your task is not to eliminate wandering, but to return. Return to the breath. Return to the body. Return to now. You are not here to control the mind like a tyrant. You are here to gently lead it home like a loving parent. No scolding, no judgment. Just a soft, steady return. Each return builds presence. Each return strengthens your capacity to live fully. The present moment is not always peaceful. Sometimes it holds discomfort, boredom, or restlessness. But it is real. It is honest. It is alive. The past cannot be touched. The future cannot be held. But now, this breath, this sound, this heartbeat, this is where your life actually unfolds. And when you are here, even if only for a moment, something shifts. The world softens. The breath slows. Your body remembers that it doesn't need to prepare for a threat that doesn't exist. You remember that you are not your thoughts, that you can step out of the storm and into the quiet field beyond it. This is not escape. This is awakening. The practice of returning is simple. When you notice the mind has drifted, name it softly. Thinking, then return. If a feeling pulls your attention, name it gently. Feeling, then return. You're not erasing the thought or the feeling. You're choosing where to place your awareness. Again and again you do this. Not because you are failing, but because you are training your mind to stay. Like a puppy being taught to sit, it will wander. And each time you bring it back with kindness, it learns. You learn. There is no limit to how many times you can return. 100 times in a sitting. 1,000 times in a day. Each return is a small act of devotion. a small bow to this moment, a small yes to your life. You begin to notice more: the breath as it enters, the heart as it beats, the sounds that surround you. You begin to feel less like a ghost, floating through thoughts, and more like a presence grounded in being. You begin to live not as an idea, but as awareness itself. Let this be your practice tonight. As thoughts arise, do not chase them. As emotions stir, do not follow them. As the mind moves, simply notice. Smile inwardly. Then come back to the breath, to the weight of your body resting, to the sound of silence. This return is gentle. It does not demand perfection. It only asks for honesty. Are you here? If not, return. There is no shame. There is only the invitation to come back again and again and again. This practice is not about escaping life. It's about entering it more fully. It's about remembering that peace is not found in a future where everything is figured out, but in the willingness to be with this moment exactly as it is. This breath, this awareness, this return. That's where your power lives. That's where your peace waits. Somewhere along your path, you may have wondered if real peace is even possible. If there's truly a way to live without being pulled under by emotion, without being overwhelmed by the world's chaos, without being trapped in the endless loops of thought, fear, and desire. Buddhism offers a profound and gentle answer. The end of suffering is not only possible, it is already within you. Not as a fantasy or a distant reward, but as a capacity that arises when you begin to see clearly, to feel deeply, to let go, lovingly. The Buddha did not promise a life without pain. He promised liberation from the unnecessary suffering that comes when you resist life, when you cling to what must pass, when you forget your true nature. The end of suffering is not a perfect state. It is not a blank stillness. It is a radical acceptance of what is a fearless intimacy with the present, a wise love that holds all things without needing to possess them. It is a life where peace does not mean the absence of storms, but the presence of a heart that no longer panics when they arrive. This path is not about becoming someone else. It is about remembering who you are beneath the noise. You are already spacious enough to hold the sadness without drowning. You are already strong enough to face discomfort without fleeing. You are already kind enough to forgive yourself, to forgive others, to loosen the rope you've been holding on to. Liberation doesn't mean your life will never be touched by difficulty. It means that your inner being will no longer be ruled by it. The waves may come, but you will remember that you are the ocean. You will see thought, not as truth. You will see emotion as energy, not as identity. You will begin to live not through resistance, but through response. Not through force, but through presence. There is nothing you must do to earn this freedom. There is nothing you need to become. You need only to stop turning away. Stop reaching outward. Stop waiting for the world to approve your stillness. Begin now, right here, with this breath. Feel it. Follow it. Let it anchor you into this very moment, into this very body, into this aliveness that has waited patiently for your return. This is not a destination. This is not a technique. It is a remembering. You remember that beneath all the tension, there is softness. Beneath all the stories, there is silence. Beneath all the seeking, there is home. And you have never been apart from it. The end of suffering is not the end of experience. It is the beginning of living from a deeper center. You will still feel joy, sadness, longing, confusion, but they will move through you like wind moves through trees. They will pass, and you will remain steady, aware, whole. The teachings are not rules. They are invitations. Invitations to stop chasing what you already are, to stop fixing what was never broken, to stop running from what is asking to be held. You hold it now. You hold yourself now, gently, with care, with breath, with stillness. Tonight, as you close your eyes, let this knowing rise. Let it fill your body like warm light. You are not far. You are not behind. You are not broken. The end of suffering is not somewhere else. It is here in this breath. It is here in this willingness to stop and see. It is here in the silence that grows when you let everything be. There is nothing more to prove, nothing more to chase. Only this presence, peace, and the quiet joy of returning to the truth you've always known.